Thank you once again for tuning into Joe the Papa. I appreciate you coming back. This is, I believe, the seventh video, the seventh straight week of me posting on YouTube, and not much has changed as far as YouTube goes. A few more views, a couple more likes, and I'm feeling better though. Every week, I feel a little bit better. I get a little bit stronger. I've changed my setup here a little bit. I hope to tighten this all up a little bit better, make myself look a little bit better for those who view this. If you've watched some of the previous videos that I've had, I'm mostly doing this for myself, for my mental health, and also to leave a video vlog for my daughter to see, and any other friends or family that might happen to come upon this, to get some insights into um, who I am at this time, how I've got here, and what I hope to carry with me in the future and achieve in my life. And this is early February 2026. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cold still, but I live in Northeast Ohio. We've had a foot and a half of snow, and it was 55 degrees today. So it's a lot of us are starting to get a little bit stuffed up, a little bit head cold. I'm not sick per se, but I'm a little bit nasally, so I apologize for that. Not much I can do about that. I'm trying to adhere to posting the same day every week. I'd like to start posting more videos, but I get too many things in my head at one time, and I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about that, and I want to, get a lot more things off of my chest. But I'm trying to be more straightforward. This is certainly not scripted. I do have an outline for each of these, and today's outline, but what I want to talk about today in this video is what I've done for the last 15 years, which is sales. Basically automobile sales, and for the last 4 or so years, insurance sales, property and casualty, homes, boats, autos, motorcycles, things like that. And I'd like to talk about, what I experienced in those 15 years, what I learned, good and bad, and what I hope to take with me for the rest of my life, no matter what I do. Sales has been a particular grind since COVID. I was working at a large Chevy dealer, near my home, family-run operation. They were great people, but it just got to the point where we didn't have any vehicles to sell. There was no way to pay a mortgage. There was no way to do much of anything, even though I had, they treated us like family, and they made sure that we were taken care of, that nobody went hungry, that no one wasn't able to pay their rent or their mortgage. But things took a turn right around that time, and that's when I got into the insurance business. But I digress. Let me go back a little bit. So most of my life, I've always had a hustle mentality. I had paper routes when I was a kid. I was one of those kids that at first my dad or mom or both of them would wake me up, when I didn't have school on a given day, and I was allowed to sleep in a little bit. But they said, "Why don't you go make some money? Go shovel some sidewalks and some driveways, and make a little bit of money." And I didn't really want to do that, because when you're 10 or 11 years old, you want to just stay at home and watch The Price is Right, and whatever else was on TV that you didn't get to see because you were in the fifth grade. And after I got some of that money in my hand, though, and I realized that, I could buy cassette tapes with it, or comic books, or candy bars, or whatever I could afford, I got addicted to it, and I like to make money, and I had a paper route. Unfortunate thing about my paper route, it was one of those ones that was early in the morning. I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go deliver papers. And, in the summertime, the spring and summer and the fall, it was nice. But in the wintertime, that's when I quit. I was like, I can't take this. I can't ride my bike in half a foot of snow and slip on the ice and hurt myself and have everybody pissed off that the papers were wet or crunched up because I was in a hurry at 5:30 in the morning to get home and maybe get 10 more minutes of sleep. But I learned how to hustle at a very early age, and I worked in a lot of businesses in the town that I grew up in. I worked at a car wash. I worked at a pizza place. When I was 16 years old, I started delivering pizzas, and I just always liked having money in my pocket. I like to. My father said that if it's your money, there's not much I can tell you what to do with it, as long as it's not has to do with anything with drugs or alcohol or anything illicit. If I wanted to listen to music that my dad thought was satanic, and I bought it for myself, and he didn't have to listen to it, he wouldn't do anything. My tapes wouldn't come missing. My shirts, my Slayer shirts, and the Metallica Pusshead shirts from back in the day, those were the ones that if I bought it myself, I could wear it. I wouldn't wear it to church or, some of them to school, but I could certainly wear it around my house or my buddy's house or out and about riding my bike around because it was my money. And there was a sense of freedom with that. I swung a hammer for a little while, roofed some houses, did some framing. I liked hard work, but I kind of went into more service work. I moved down to Florida. I worked as a bellhop at a place called the Bellevue Biltmore Hotel. They recently, well, not recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, tore it down, but at one time it was the second largest wooden structure in the world. It was just huge. I was a bellhop there, and a concierge, valet, anything that they needed done there, anything that you could work and hustle and make some extra cash, I was all for. And I was rewarded because I like to hustle. I like to make money. I like to deliver things. There were restaurants that gave us kickbacks. There were some restaurants that would give us 50 cents per head, and other places that would give us $1. And I realized that I was pretty good at reaching a common ground with people, maybe even persuading people to go to the restaurants that paid me more, or the restaurants that would give me even more in credit if I wanted to take friends or family or a girlfriend there. There were definitely places. It was in Clearwater, Florida, so the greater Tampa Bay area, and that's where I developed my love for not necessarily at that point negotiating with people, but convincing people to go to the places that I thought they should go to. And even then, I had integrity because there were places that would pay us, but I didn't like eating there. I wouldn't spend my money, and I definitely wasn't going to send anyone there to waste their money when they were on vacation. But if it was a good quality place where I know that they were going to get great food at a great price with great service, I was happy to send people there. And that's what started me off on the first leg of my journey in sales. I continued to do that every winter and every summer. I was a fishing guide in Yellowstone National Park. It's where I met my wife, who's from Seattle. I was living in again in the Tampa area at that point, and 6 months out of the year, I was traveling and out west or back in Florida. And it was just for 3 or 4 years, that's what I did at the hotel, and then became a concierge there. And that was the type of job where, if you've ever been a concierge, you know exactly what they do. If you've stayed at some hotels that have concierges, you know what they do as well. And we got money for everything: town cars, cabs, all of those places. And I would always try to convince people into using the services that I not only got paid for or compensated for, but that I trusted and I knew that they would get value for their money. And that is why when I became a full-time salesperson years later, it served me very well. I didn't really see anybody outright lying to anyone when I was in sales. I know some people did, but I always seemed to land at the type of places. First of all, they were always the two main dealerships I worked at, Washington State and in Ohio, were family owned and operated. They treated people like family. They took care of us, and the people that I saw there, I mean, if they had to, say that there was no red cars left so they could sell a white or a silver car, I mean, you got to put food on the plate. But they were definitely honest with everything else, in delivering a great service and a great product for the price for those people. And I feel proud of the people that I worked with. But uh, I was forced into becoming a salesperson. When I moved to Washington State, when I was valeting in Florida, I got a job managing a valet stand in Washington State, and it was at a hospital that was just growing. When I took over, there was me and 3 other people. I was running around valeting cars and stuff. That's all we did was valet cars at the hospital. And I made good money, and it was Monday through Friday, and it wasn't hard work, and it kept me in shape. It was in much better shape back then. And the hospital started to grow. They turned into a huge regional medical center, and I went from having me and 3 people under me to having over 40 people, and having valet, concierge, driver shuttles for around the campus and down to the parking that we had down further down the hill, and patient escorts, people that would move patients around the hospital. I had again like 40 people directly reporting to me. We grew our book of business, our we were contractors. We grew our contract up to millions of dollars, and I got along well with the people at the hospital. My bosses knew that I was doing a good job, and it was again just finding the right people for the right jobs, holding them accountable, holding myself accountable too. Well, I tried to be a friendly boss, a nice boss, and I let people run all over me and didn't even realize it, and got to the point where I actually got fired from that job. And the contractor that I worked for, the two that were involved with that, and including the president of the hospital, wanted me to stay. They were like, what I'd done, again, maybe we can get into it one day. Didn't do anything illegal, nothing like that. I just let it get away from me. And I'm totally to blame for that. So when I was let go, I was let go with severance, and I knew that I couldn't live on the severance for long. I had to get a job. So I got into the car business. It was always something that I thought that I wanted to do. Even going back to seeing Kurt Russell in used cars. I have always loved Kurt Russell. He's one of my favorite actors. Thought he's so cool. And he was great in that movie. And he wasn't a very good salesperson. I mean, he was very persuasive. He wanted to become a congressman, I think, and in that movie. And so he was very loquacious, and people liked him. But he would do in a lot of things that I didn't even see in the car business, which I was at the very tail end of the last golden age of the car business. So, especially out there in Washington State. But I got the job. I almost lost my job because I wasn't aggressive enough. But when I realized that my back was against the wall and I needed to actually sell people on things, not just sell myself, but sell people on the products that I was selling. And I got support from the people that I worked with, including some who are still good friends of mine to this very day and still working with the same company in the same city. I started to blossom. I took my natural ability to talk to people and to be able to talk to just about anybody. I think that I couldn't give a TED talk per se, but if you said, "Hey, walk into this room, put a microphone on and talk to these people for half an hour," I could do it. I'm not funny enough where I could be a stand-up comic, but that's always another thing that I always wanted to give it. Get 5 minutes of material, see if I was good enough to get some laughs. And again, nothing as a career. I don't think I'm 50. I don't think 50 is too old to start any type of career except for maybe being a doctor or an airline pilot. But you definitely could, but it's not something that I want to pursue. Just like YouTube. That's why there's minimal edits to this. And if people like it, cool, man. If they don't, there's a million other things to watch. This for me, my family. If anyone else watches it, that's great. But again, to get back to what I was talking about being in the car business, I did that job for 5 years. Then we moved to Ohio, worked for another family business. And if it wouldn't have been for, let's not say COVID, but the fact that there were not enough microchips for everything that you need to do in cars, for the heated seats and the backup camera and the eagle eye camera above it that shows you backing into a stall and all the different things that you need microchips for. There wasn't enough cars to go around, and there was too many of us to sell that many used cars. So it just became a fight. So I decided to go and get my property and casualty state of Ohio license on my own. Most people get a job, they study really hard, they get paid a wage, and then they get their licensing, and then they start going to work for the agency and the carriers. I didn't do that. I went the other way. In my spare time, I got my certificate, my licenses, and went to work for someone, and it was a totally different animal. In car sales, you are inundated by all of the advertisements on the radio, on your computer, on your smartphone, and the newspapers everywhere. You see the car trader everywhere. Anybody that owns a car lot is spending a lot of money per person to get you there onto the car lot. And I realized that at the time, but I didn't realize how great of a thing that was for someone who is in sales. You don't have to be what they call a hunter when you're selling cars. They come to you. You're one of those hunters that goes to $1,000, a $2,000 trip, whitetail hunting excursion where they put you up in a blind and right in front of where they're feeding the deer at. They just bring them right in, and you take your deer. That's not the hunting I did when I was growing up. It was actually, an art and a science to it, and that's something that you don't get when you're in insurance. There are people walking through the door, and there are people that are there because your agency did a great job for them in the past or for someone that they know. But in insurance, you're really going to people, whether that's becoming part of the local Rotary or any other type of local association, becoming a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Go walking around to businesses and handing your card out, cold calling old people that used to be with the agency and trying to get them back. You're more proactive uh, in insurance sales, and everybody needs insurance, but not everybody wants to talk about insurance. What I do doesn't cost anybody a penny unless I earn their business, and then I can usually save them money. But people nowadays are so inundated by everything. You can say a word when you're 10 feet away from your phone and your phone picks up on it and it starts giving you all these ads and all these presentations for whatever it is you're talking about. If you're talking about getting a new computer, you're inundated with new computers, we're looking for a new truck. Trucks are everywhere now, and I know that people are sick of it and they want you to stop. I mean, the cold calling that I do, I don't do a lot of cold calling these days. Most of them are warm leads, but you call a lot of these people, and 60% of the time you don't talk to anybody, and other times you do talk to someone. They yell at you. They say, quit calling me. I don't need that anymore. And then I've called other people back that I noted a year before that yelled at me, and they buy. So it's just a fickle nature of what you do when you sell. But what um, what selling taught me is how to read people a little bit better. I grew up in a small town, but I got into a lot of crazy stuff when I was a teenager and in my 20s, so I was very street smart. I happen to think I'm halfway intelligent. I'm not the smartest, nor am I the dumbest, but I really learned how to read people and especially their buying signals. The easiest people were the people that were emotional, the people that were really high emotionally or really low emotionally. That's something to work with, the high or the low. The people that's the hardest are the people that are, right there in the middle, that static line where, they're not too excited about getting a new car and they're not too pissed off about having to buy a new car for whatever reason it was, or insurance, whatever you're selling widgets. So I got to be able to learn people and to their buying cues because you know people like to buy. They don't like to be um, necessarily sold. And I know that's contrary to what some people believe, but I mean, it's nice to buy a new car or lease a new car, but you don't want to be sold something that you don't want. You want that car, but you want a certain color, and then you got to be sold on getting blue or green or whatever it might happen to be. Um, and then the biggest thing that I learned was because you can see from these videos, I really don't have a problem talking, stringing words together in sentences and complete thoughts. But I learned how to listen to people because the first thing that I was taught when I started selling cars is you've got two of these and one of these, which means shut your mouth, keep your ears open, and listen to what people are telling you. And when you truly listen to someone and understand where they're coming from and what their needs are, it's very easy to help them buy. And they feel gratitude towards you. And they give you a 5-star review, or better yet, they tell their friends and their family that you're the type of person that's going to give them a square deal and a great deal on whatever product it is they have. That's the most satisfying thing, to get referrals from people. And those are some of the best things that I learned when I was in the car business and in the insurance business. And again, I worked with mostly positive people and definitely for positive stores that had great reputations. Now, that doesn't mean that, we batted 1,000, but we batted very well. And most people were happy with what we did. The things that I didn't like about sales is that it is just a constant grind. That as soon as the first of the month comes up, if you had a bad month, hey man, you can turn it around this month and be a superstar. If you were a superstar the month before and you got your name up on the board and you were number one, well, guess what? You're back to zero on the first. And it's one of those things where it's the type of job where, for me anyways, because I live in my head a lot, I would just dread some days going into work because I know it's a Tuesday and it's February and nobody's buying anything and things are crazy in the world, and you're basically sitting around all day long. You're trying to be proactive, calling people, walking the lot, working your B backs, that sort of stuff if you work in an office. But it's still a grind because anybody that can get up, I don't care if you drive a dump truck, if you're a waitress, if you're a doctor, if you're a teacher, those types of jobs, you show up, you do your job, you get paid your wage, and whether you like your job or not, at least you did it. There's not that existential dread that you have when you're selling any type of product. And those that do now know how hard it is now. I mean, even the best of us, and I never was one of the best. I was always a backbone sort of guy. If you were selling cars, you're selling 14, 15, 16 cars a month, insurance, selling 20, 25 policies a month, the type of person that, you're doing a good job. You're never going to be truly number one month in and month out. I did have months where I was the number one guy there. But, overall, I was a backbone sort of person, someone that they could count on, someone that they knew would show up to work on time and be a decent teammate, nice to people. But I was never going to, I'm not going to get promoted because, first of all, I don't kiss enough ass. And second of all, I don't sell. Usually it's the people that are fed in these businesses, and by fed I mean given leads, given customers, and they're usually the ones that rise up into the management, and the good ones become good. The people that become good managers will stay for years. The bad managers are usually weeded out, and they go to some other lot or some other agency, and they start selling all over again, trying to climb the ladder. I could give two craps about the ladder. I just want to do good work. I want to be able to take care of my family, and I want to be, a decent person. And I feel like I've done that so far. But I'm getting very much burned out by it. It's definitely a hard time. You can sell things in good times and bad times and uncertain times. It's a different story, though. And it's getting harder. So YouTube is not a way for me to segue out of that. I know that it's a one in a million shot that you're fortunate enough to be a content creator, but stranger things have happened. I can definitely tell you I'm consistent, I'm dedicated. So maybe I could build a following here, and that would be great. I'm trying some other things with YouTube and UGC and trying to make some money with my phone or my with AI, stuff like that. A bunch of it's BS. I tend to not listen to people that promise you money quickly or a lot of money. I like the people that promise you that if you show up every day and you do this work, that you are going to make incremental advances in this, and who knows, maybe supplement your income to where I don't have to sell things. Maybe I could go and be a delivery guy or something. I mean, my God, when I delivered pizzas, I sometimes will daydream about delivering pizzas, and I delivered for Domino's in Florida. I was busy. I made really good money, made hourly wage, money every time I left, tips, all that stuff. And I was happy, I mean, there were no podcasts around, but I would listen to tunes. I'd smoke my cigarettes, after I delivered the pizzas. I wouldn't smoke and get smoke in people's pizzas and food and stuff. But afterwards, I thought it was fair game at the time. And it was just so much fun because it was like I didn't have to get up early to do it. I knew the area, so I was going to deliver their pizzas on time, and it was almost like a mindless sort of job. I would love to get back to that now, and be able to. But I have a house, I have a house, I have a kid, wife, dog, cats, all that stuff. I got to help take care of. So I'm not able to do that sort of job yet. But the things that I will take from being in sales, whether I continue to be in sales or not, is listening to people. It sounds like cliche or corny. I don't know, like to listen to people. But if you listen to yourself saying that and you stop and you listen to that and you spin it around in your mind, most of us don't listen enough. Most of us wait to talk. Most of us have opinions about whatever someone's talking about. Most of us want to one up that person and say, yeah, but I did it this way. And this was even crazier or better, or made more money or whatever. If you truly listen to people, whether you're in sales or whether it's your spouse or your kids or your neighbors or the people who are in your church or whoever it is, if you listen to them, those people are going to tell you how best to operate in that situation. That you don't need to always have all the answers, but if you take a little bit of time and you think about it and you work with others, you can usually come up with an answer to any problem that you have. Now, I know there's extraneous problems, there's life-changing problems, but for the in and out, the day-to-day sort of thing, it's not really that hard. It's really taking the time to read people and read yourself and listen to people and listen to yourself and to treat yourself, because it is a hard job but it's a rewarding job. It's the type of job where you can make the bare minimum and you're out, make a little more than the bare minimum, and you can stay as long as you want, or make a lot and change your life. Now, I go back to say I worked in the last of the golden age of that, where it was easier to sell. There was a lot more money to it. It was a great time to make money. Unfortunately, I was young and dumb and had addictions at that point, so I drank and smoked a lot and partied a lot of that away, and had a lot of fun, and not much to show for it now. But uh, I think that if it was even like that again, or would become like that again, I'm a different person now. I would, try to pay down some of my debt. Not a lot of debt, but pay my debt off. I'd love to own my own house. I know there's people that say you shouldn't own your own house, or there's benefits to not owning your own house. I'd love to own my own house and just have to pay the property taxes. Where I live, property taxes are next to nothing. But these are the sorts of things that I've learned from that. I mean, I did wallow in you know pity sometimes, and I was skeptical of myself, not only as a salesperson but as a person. And you just start stacking those wins up, whether it's in sales or life. You start stacking those little wins up, and that's where I've come to now, and that's the reason why I am shooting these videos. And this is definitely a longer one, and I appreciate if you're still here listening to me. And as I've gone along, I've kind of tweaked these a little bit more. I'm trying to make them a little bit more digestible, again, because I haven't told any friends or family that I'm doing this. If they happen upon it, great. I hope they don't say anything to me about it. Not that I'm embarrassed, but I really am saying things that I don't want a lot of people to hear. And one day when my daughter's a little bit older and she can understand these things, she can see where I was coming from. But I think this is a time of transition. I'm betting on myself. I'm investing in myself, and I'm taking the things that I've learned in a long sales career and putting it towards my own life. Trying to sell myself on a different life, on a better life, listening to myself, and trying to buy into the future that I want. And I appreciate you being here for this. And I thank you. And I hope that, everything is going well in your life, and that if you want to comment on this, that would be great. I mean, that's the main reason why I did this. I'd love to start, I love I've only had a couple comments, but, uh, views and subscribers mean nothing, but the comments and the community that could be built and is paramount to me. That's the thing that I feel like we don't have enough of. Not enough of us are talking to each other. We're more alike than we are different. And you can find common ground with most people. We're all going through this hard thing called life. We're doing the best that we can, but we can always get help along the way. So thanks again for staying here and listening to me ramble on for this last 20, 25 or 30 minutes. So thanks again. Take care, guys. Till next time.